Hello everyone and welcome back to our reading of I Live in Your Basement. Chapter 12. Let's get started. Mom and I both let out cries of surprise. Tyler sat staring at us from the bed. He panted loudly. His tongue hung out. When he saw us, his tail started to wag. Mom placed a firm hand on my shoulder. "Go lie down on that bed, Marco," she ordered. "I'm calling the doctor right now." "No, wait!" I insisted. I ducked out from under her grip. I dropped to the floor and peered under the bed. "Keith, where are you?" Not in her lair. I climbed to my feet, ran across the room, and tugged open the closet door. "Keith?" No. I spun around. Where else could he be hiding? Tyler leaped off the bed and bounded from the room. "That poor dog doesn't like being locked up," Mom fretted. "I didn't lock him in here," I shouted. "I locked Keith in." She tisked. "You're going to be fine, Marco. Really, you are." Her voice trembled. It was easy to figure out what she really meant. "That hit on the head scrambled your brains, Marco. You're acting like a total nutcase." I took a deep breath and tried to explain it again. "Mom, I don't know how Tyler got in here, but I do know there was a boy in my room and I locked him in." "I'm going to phone Dr. Bailey right now," Mom replied. "But I don't want you to worry. Everything will be okay." She hurried from the room. "Everything will be okay." Mom's words lingered in my mind. As usual, she was wrong. Dr. Bailey's waiting room was all blue and green. A huge fish tank against one wall bubbled quietly. The blue and green chairs, blue and green carpet, and blue and green walls made me feel as if I were in a fish tank too. Mom and I checked in with the woman behind the desk. Then we sat down on a hard plastic couch against the wall. On the plastic chairs across from us, a girl sat with her father. The girl was about 7 or 8. Every few seconds, she hiccuped loudly. Her whole body shook with each hiccup. "She's been doing that for 2 weeks, her father explained, shaking his head. "Dad," the girl snapped, "it's only been 10 days. "Has she been eating eggs?" Mom asked the father. "Too many eggs can give you the hiccups." The man stared at Mom. "It's the egg whites," Mom continued. "They're too slippery, you can't digest them." The man stared at Mom some more. Finally he murmured, "I don't think it was eggs." The girl hiccuped and shook. The fish tank bubbled. I felt as if I were swimming with the fish, floating through thick blue water. But I can't breathe underwater, I told myself. The girl hiccuped again. The sound was starting to drive me crazy. I wanted to go home. I turned to Mom, who had picked up a magazine and was thumbing through it. "Can we go?" I pleaded. "I'm okay." She shook her head. "Dr. Bailey just wants to look at you," she replied, keeping her eyes on the magazine. "A hit on the head is serious. You only have one head, you know." The girl hiccuped. "Try holding your breath," her father instructed her. "I've been holding it for 10 days, she grumbled. Several hundred hiccups later, the nurse led Mom and me into Dr. Bailey's office. As I stepped inside, I saw that his office was blue and green too. The doctor was a cheerful, chubby man. He had a round face, a shiny bald head, and he wore a bow tie under his green lab coat. The bow tie bobbed up and down on his Adam's apple when he talked. He came around the desk to shake hands with me. Then he used his thumbs to pull up my eyelids so he could examine my eyes. Looks okay, he murmured. He ran his thumb gently over the bump on my head. Does that hurt, Marco? A little, I confessed. It's healing nicely, he told Mom. Very nicely indeed. And what seems to be the problem, Marco? I hesitated. Should I tell him about Keith? If I do, won't he think I'm crazy too? Won't he send me back to the hospital or something? Should I tell him I don't remember anything about being in the hospital? Dr. Bailey gazed at me patiently, waiting for me to begin. Finally, I decided, okay, I'll tell him everything. He's a doctor after all. He will understand. So I told him I couldn't remember the hospital. And then I told him about the boy who said he lived in our basement. And I told him about actually seeing Keith, and locking him in my room, and finding Tyler. The whole story. I told him everything. It felt good to tell it. Dr. Bailey sat behind his desk and kept his eyes locked on me the whole time. His bow tie twitched on his Adam's apple, but he didn't say a word until I finished. Then he leaned forward and sighed. It doesn't sound too bad, he said. Oh, thank goodness, Mom exclaimed. Dr. Bailey scratched his bald head. But do you know what I would like to do just to make sure everything is okay? He asked. What? Mom and I said together. I'd like to remove your brain and examine it under a microscope, Dr. Bailey said. That's, quite the way to end the chapter. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you next time. See ya!